All right, let's bring the January 9th, 2024 meeting of the DeKalb County Council to order. And we'll begin with an opening prayer by Councilman Kraft.
Let's pray. Father God, we thank you for today. We thank you even for the precipitation that's coming down and the weather, even when we don't like it, we know that it's all in your plan and in your control. And we just pray that today's meeting would also be something that's in your control. We pray for your wisdom and knowledge as we represent the constituents of DeKalb County, that we make wise decisions, and we pray that you would keep everybody safe after they leave the meeting and in this kind of weather. We pray that in Jesus' name, amen.
And you've all been presented with the minutes of the December 12th meeting. I have a motion to accept those as presented.
Move to approve.
Been moved by Councilman Yard. Second by Councilman Collins. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. That motion is carried. Before we move on, I do want to make note of the fact that there are three items that were left off of the agenda, so we will be adjusting the agenda. One is the property tax relief ordinance, and one is the sheriff's salary and the rainy day ordinance. Will all be added to the agenda. So with that being said, we move on to reorganization of the council. First item is the office of the president. Do we have any nominations for president?
I nominate David Yard for president.
Okay, been moved and seconded. Is there any other nominations?
I would nominate Rick Ryan.
Any other, is there a second to that nomination? All right, hearing none, we have a motion and a second for president in David Yard. Any other nominations? Hearing none. All those in favor of David Yard for president signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same. That motion is carried. Dave, you are president. Would you like to change seats, or are you going to stay there for
I'll
this
just stay
meeting?
right here.
Okay.
So,
Next is vice president.
okay, so I guess start here. All right. Okay, you're gonna have to bear with me. When I came in, I dumped everything that I had, so we'll get through it all, and we'll still walk out of here and be friends, so. Okay, would like to entertain a motion nominee for the office of vice president of the council.
I make a motion for Bill Van Wy for vice president.
I'll second that.
Do we have any other nominations? Do we have a motion to close the nominations?
I make a motion, we close nomination.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor for Bill Van Wy for vice president of the council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Oppose? Bill, congratulations.
You know, this means you cannot, and I repeat this with great authority, cannot miss a meeting.
Okay, which Amy seconded to close? Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next bit of business is retaining counsel. Don Stuckey, do we have a motion to?
I make a motion that we retain Don Stuckey for council again.
You guys actually already did that last month.
Oh, okay.
Do we need to vote on it?
I believe you voted on it last month.
It's in there.
I know we discussed it, but I don't know if we voted on it.
I don't know. Let's just do it since I can't find it.
You're safe.
Do we have a,
I'll second that.
okay, have a motion by Bob Kraft, second by Bill Van Wyde to retain Don Stuckey as counsel. Any other nominations? Nominations are closed. All those in favor of retaining Don Stuckey as counsel, for the council, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Don, thank you for your service. Look forward to continuing to work with you there. Okay, additional appropriations and transfers.
There are no additionals, so just the transfers.
And again, I apologize because my stuff got all,
There will be some additionals next meeting due to like new grant funding that's come in, things like that.
Susan, do you have a list of the transfers? Because like I say, mine is,
Yes, you got it.
One from Community Corrections.
A transfer, not an approval one. It might be a non-approval.
It is under the non-approvals.
That's not the one I was talking about.
Depending when they turned it in, it might not made it to this meeting.
What was the deadline for this one, Susan? December something, right?
Yeah.
so we have one transfer
Yep.
from the Sheriff's Department?
One approval, yep.
Okay, what we have is from the Sheriff's Department, the fund is from the School Resource Officer, Fund 9105. The amount to be transferred is $1,972. Why is this transfer needed? The transfer is needed to purchase a new vehicle out of the SRO fund. The full amount for the purchase of the vehicle is in the SRO fund. However, the transfer is needed to be able to pay out the correct amount. Purchase of vehicles 44610. Will additional appropriations be requested due to this transfer? No. Was it discussed with the liaison? Yes, and that was Rick Ring. Do we have a motion to approve the transfer?
So moved.
Okay, Councilman Ring,
Second.
second by Councilman Collins. All those in favor of approving the transfer of $1,972 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Transfer is approved. We have one non-approval, is that correct then, Susan?
I didn't look.
That we don't have to act on?
We don't do anything with those. I didn't look at it.
That was from the Change Academy.
Non-approval. There were two. One was Change Academy, the other one was the rest of the vehicle money for the school resource fund.
Okay, and those are, do we need to read the amount on these? Just,
Nope.
okay.
It's in their budget. It's in the same category. It's basically moving because I tell them they have to have it in a correct account to pay for a claim.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to make a comment about Change Academy real quickly, just because I've seen a lot of interaction over the last year. Change Academy comes over to the YMCA a couple of times a week, but they have a person from Lifeline Counseling coming and meeting with these students individually. And the level of engagement and the way that these kids are interacting with that counselor is fantastic. I mean, there's really being some change made in those kids' lives. And I told the counselor, I said, you're doing a great job, because the kids aren't, sitting there disengaged. They're really, you can see they're talking and opening up to that counselor, and hopefully that's going to help them to succeed in life and change kind of the trajectory of where they're at in high school. So I just wanted to say kudos to what that program is doing right now. I've never seen it operate that well before.
Good. Thanks, Bob. That's good input. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Susan, you're going to have to kind of walk me through this here because I really haven't.
That's all right. So last month or meeting, December, you guys had given me the authority to do any year-end transfers that I needed so that my accounts were not, any accounts across the county were not negative, as well as I have to approve the encumbrances for certain invoices that need paid out of the 23 budget, but we haven't received the product, so we can't pay for it till 24. So those were all uploaded and in packets, so we just need a motion, second, and a vote on the year-end transfers that I provided and the encumbrances.
So we need a motion.
Yep, for the year-end transfers first.
Okay, do we have a
I'll make a
motion?
motion that we approve the year-end transfers and encumbrances.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Ring to approve the end-of-year transfers and approval of encumbrances for 2023. Do we have a second? Second by Councilwoman Dembski. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Now, we have at 9:30 a public hearing scheduled.
Yes, so we can't do that. That is the LITS PTRC ordinance that Rick had mentioned earlier. So we can't do that until 9:30, so we can skip that for now.
Did we approve the encumbering too? Was that?
Yes, I was on the same motion.
Yep, we did both. So the next thing would be the PETA BOA board members. And that letter was also there, so if you remember, Sheila lets us know that she tries to find qualified candidates who are from both parties, so, and she cannot find any candidate qualified that is a Democrat. So we have to have a motion and a vote to waive the political party requirement. And then we have a motion and vote to waive the level 2 or 3 certification. And then we'll motion to reappoint Kyle and Marcia.
Okay, so we need a motion to not do away, but
Waive the
waive
political
the
party
political
requirement.
party requirement for the appointments. Do we have a motion to waive the political party piece for appointments? Okay, Councilman Ring made the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Councilman Kraft. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to not require the political party affiliation for appointment here for the PETA board. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay, so the political party affiliation is complete. Now we need a motion to,
Is that just for this
We do it every year.
every year? Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
She will,
They have attempted to find someone for many years, and she contacts the Democrat chairman. Democrat chairman's not been able to find anybody for them.
so she'll submit a letter to us like this every year
Gotcha.
to let us know whether she could or couldn't.
This time last year was my first day on the job, and I was a little nervous, had a little stage fright, so sorry that I didn't remember that.
But you wouldn't have remembered that because we would have done that in the December meeting, so you wouldn't have been a part of it.
Okay, I knew nothing about it.
I believe that one of these people, isn't Marcia a Steuben County resident?
I honestly
I think
can't
one of
remember.
them's not even a DeKalb County resident.
I think you're right. I think that was-
Because
I
of
think
they
I
needed
can't-
somebody with a certain level of training for that position.
So now we need to have a motion to waive the level 2 or 3 certification due to the lack of qualified individuals that hold that
You say
certification.
level 2 and 3? Okay. Do we have a motion?
That motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilwoman Prosser to waive the level 2 and level 3 certification requirements. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Collins. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay, we have waived the level 2 and level 3 requirements in.
And just for clarification, again, that's because there aren't anybody.
Correct. Or even out of the county. Like, they just can't find anyone.
That the same certification that Sheila has?
Yeah.
She was a 3, yeah.
And it's a matter not only of having the certification, but being willing to do the job.
Right, so the
They're
person
not-
that we have from out of county is the one that has a certification.
I believe so.
Oh, okay.
There we go. You would know.
Okay, the last piece here is the appointment of members. Susan, I'm going to defer to you on that.
So she's requesting that we reappoint Kyle Branscombe and Marcia Severs for the 2024 board. So we need a motion and a second, a vote.
And that's Kyle Branscombe. And who else?
Marcia Severs,
Severs?
Severs.
They've been,
Oh,
they've been at least, they've been at least 10
I was
years.
elected.
they've been there since I've been here, and it's, so I don't, at least 10.
Okay, do we have a motion to reappoint Kyle Branscombe and Marcia Severs to the board?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilwoman Dembski and a second by Councilman Kraft. All those in favor of the reappointment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay, so Kyle and Marcia are reappointed to the board there. Let's see, what else can we do right now?
Okay, so the next thing, if you guys can do this in 10 minutes, is we have, okay, so I believe it was November or December. I think it was November. The council had voted to have Don prepare a preliminary declaratory resolution to create an ERA for the IGBD biogas property tax abatement. So we now have that preliminary resolution that needs to be voted on. And if it passes, then I will advertise for a public hearing and vote at the next council meeting in February.
The delay was caused by the fact that we needed a survey of the specific area that they're taking from the much larger area.
Yes.
And they provided it. Apparently wasn't
Yes, we had requested in March and got it in late October, early November.
That's what, I remember the discussion on this project a long, long time ago, and I
Very
thought we
long
had
time ago.
already approved it or something, but we just asked
We
them
were
to
waiting.
get this for us. Okay.
committee recommended approval, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Susan, do we need to read the entire,
We do not have to read the entire resolution because it was provided to you all 48 hours plus of your meeting, so we can pass it just on title only.
okay, so we're looking then for a motion for this preliminary declaratory resolution for the creation of an economic revitalization area. It's resolution number 2024-RCC-1 on personal property tax abatement. And the council has seen this. Just want to
Oh,
make
I guess I
sure
can't answer
everybody's.
that.
Okay,
I provided it to everybody, I can't answer if they saw it.
yeah, okay.
And just to clarify, this is only declaring this as an ERA area, not passing the tax abatement.
That's right, this is declaratory. This is
This is
not.
so that we can
and
have,
it doesn't finalize the ERA area until you have your public hearing also.
right, okay, so it just gets the ball rolling then.
Okay,
The delay was, there's this Irish dairy property, I believe was about 14 acres, and they're only cutting out about an acre and a half, 2 acres for the ERA.
I thought it was all 14 acres. Past it.
Not the whole 14 acres.
I thought that's what we were waiting on the description for, because it was gonna be a smaller area, I thought, but maybe that's not.
Everything I received indicated it was they were cutting a piece out. I told them I had to have a survey because I could. They provided the part they're going to use. The rest of the Irish dairy property, I don't think it would qualify.
It says 2.3 acres more or less,
Yeah.
2.38. That's on the back page, the legal description.
So what does Exhibit B, where it says approximately 14 acres, including existing buildings on the following described real estate in DeKalb County? Is that just a description of the property as a whole?
I believe that's the
On,
whole piece, the whole parcel,
right.
Rick.
Pardon me?
I think that's the whole parcel.
Parcel.
And the
Yeah,
lease,
that-
the
that's
lease
actually-
area exhibit.
Actually, that Exhibit B is the back of a piece of paper that should not have been copied.
Oh,
The Exhibit B is the next exhibit.
Yeah, the next page there, where you see that.
Yeah, somebody,
If you look in the last paragraph, this is the lease area out of the whole 14 acres that they're going
Okay.
to lease.
it just
for
was
the-
connected to the other, so that's why.
Don, this isn't supposed to be in here?
no, I think when she sent that to you, probably,
Yeah, I just,
yeah, I think
Okay.
that's Debbie's fault.
that's all right.
Yeah.
We can,
The
that's,
Exhibit B is the surveyed description by Manic Smith Group.
Thank you.
Glad you caught that.
So this declaratory resolution is for approximately 1.5 acres, correct?
I think it says 2.38.
2.3? Okay, do we have a motion to approve this declaratory resolution number 2024-RCC-1 for approximately 2.5 acres?
So move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Van Wyf for approval and a second by Councilman Ring. All those in favor of approving the declaratory resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose?
Aye.
Okay. It is 6-1. Motion is approved. Okay, we've got about 3 minutes before our public hearing. Yeah, since we only have a couple minutes, I just want to thank the council for your vote of confidence. Rick, your leadership is great, and you're going to be counted on a lot.
Change is good. I would agree with that.
Well, that
Change is
depends on
good.
which side of the seat you're sitting on.
Frees me
so.
up to do other things. Or I might not have been able to, might not been able to do before, but I think
Well,
you'll do a
that's one
fine
thing I want to
job,
address
Dave.
with the council here. I'm not going to be able to make all the meetings, and I'm going to need help from council to
That
attend
means,
some
that
meetings.
means Van Wy is gonna have to read things, and that's,
You ever notice how his voice gets higher?
I do.
But I
be recorded by my voice.
appreciate the confidence, and, I'll be a straight shooter. It may not be what you want to hear, but I'm going to
Dave,
tell it
sign
to you
these or
straight. And,
Appreciate that.
everybody.
and I firmly believe in the Reader's Digest version. I'm not here to filibuster.
Am I signing where?
We'll keep things moving.
I just left. All right.
2 minutes. Do we have the coroner's report?
Okay, yes,
That's
so
something
we
that
could do that.
right now.
Yep.
Commissary report too.
We have, so we acknowledge receipt of, 2 different things. So every 6 months, we acknowledge receipt of the commissary report received from the sheriff. So that's one. And then this year, for the first time, we have received an annual report from the coroner's office that I would like you to acknowledge receipt that we got that as well. So those are just 2 easy ones.
So we need to do the commissary and the coroner's report? Okay, council approval, we can do them all on one?
Yep, just acknowledging that that you received them.
Okay, do we have a motion?
No, they're the same. Coroner.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, motion from Councilman Van Wyn, a second from Councilwoman Dembski to accept the coroner's and the sheriff's reports there. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, Susan, it is 9:30. We are ready to,
So we're going to pause the regular council meeting to open up our public hearing that we had advertised.
okay, so the public hearing is now in session, is open. And this is the ordinance is modifying the local income tax rates for the county.
Correct. So if you'll remember, this was the ordinance that I had talked to you guys about a couple months in a row. The state wanted us to have all of our lit information all in one ordinance, plus the property tax relief credit percentages. In the past, we were able to just say we wanted 100% of it to go to qualified residential property. The state has been doing a calculation for us and other counties because they no longer have that bucket, so they've been splitting it apart to like homestead 1% allocations and then residential property. I had reached out to the state to get their calculation of what they've done. So for the past years, they've put 77.9% of the property tax relief credit to the 1% allocation and 22.1% to the residential property tax area. So I left it in that manner so that we would not see any kind of change to the county. So the rest of the information is literally nothing changing from when the lit rates were first set up or amended by the council. So in the end, nothing's changing. It's putting it all in one document with specified property tax relief, specified in the correct categories for the state.
Okay, so this is basically the state's cleaning it up, so to speak, for them.
Yeah.
Nothing that we've done wrong or anything.
Nothing that we've done wrong, and I had sent this ordinance down to DLGF, and I provided last month, I provided their approval, they check it, their pre-approval, they were totally fine with everything we had in there, that it matched what we were doing. We had been asked for this for a few years, so I'm getting it completed.
Thank you. Since this is yeah, Bob?
Yeah, I was just gonna, so the tax rate's staying exactly the same, not going up or down,
Correct.
the rate. We're just allocating where that property tax relief goes, is the same as what the state was allocating for us.
Correct. Because if you see on this front page where it says previously it was 100%, and then there's a black box, because that's not even a possibility anymore, and so we had to separate it. And I separated it in the manner that they were figuring it.
which I would like to point out a couple of things about this rate. Number one, the limit is 2.5%, so we are under that 2.5%. We've had issues come up from the public in the past that, our rate was high compared to other counties. And in some respects, that is very correct. The first thing I'd like to point out is the fact that this includes 0.13% that pays for the community corrections bond that built the building out there. So that's something that not other counties have. Secondly, I want to point out the property tax relief rate is 0.5%. That is unusual for the majority of the counties in Indiana. In our neighborhood, LaGrange uses 0.15, Steuben uses 0.29, Noble County uses 0.25, Whitley County uses 0.03 for property tax relief. So the majority of ours, more than what other counties are doing, is going towards property tax relief. And that property tax relief is directed 100% at residential properties. It does not give tax relief to business, and it does not give tax relief to agriculture, which are the other two spots in the property tax relief category, the 1%, 2%, and 3%. So we are directing more of our income tax towards that property tax relief. If that was not there, property tax in DeKalb County would be higher because we are giving them relief. And that is something that this council has done a number of years ago. And I think it's a good thing. You can debate whether or not business should get some of the property tax relief or whether agriculture should get it, but we have chosen to give it all 100% towards the residential. Had we taken that out, if we take out the 0.25, our local option income tax would be 1.88, not 2.13.
Thank you, Rick. Good information. Anybody have any questions about Rick or for Rick on the rates there?
I'm going to come over and, you know what, we're going to move you guys all down this way so that Rick, Amy can sit all together.
Oh, Lord.
Since this is a public hearing, is there any comments, anybody from the public want to speak regarding this measure here, for or against? Not hearing anybody. Bob?
The lit funds that we spend are primarily controlled by the commissioners, right? And we have, is that for public safety, for
No,
sheriffs?
we budgeted.
Right, but it's going towards sheriff's department and also.
Central Communications.
Highway, central communications and highway. Is there some money that they spend on highway, or is that out of their other?
So
funds?
economic development lit, the portion of lit that's economic development is the commissioner's lighted or
Lighted,
previously
yeah.
seeded lighted monies. Then we have a portion that goes to public safety lit, and that funds 95% of it goes to central dispatch. A little bit of it, some years, goes to the sheriff. And let me think what else is in there. And we have a piece of it that goes to community corrections. And we have a piece that pays for Central's bond.
Is it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
The economic development dollars are all the commissioners. That's what goes to the commissioners' lighted fund. They are in control of their lighted, previously called seeded money, and they provide a plan, I think, every 2 years from commissioners to council. They provide that every 2 years.
Good question. Thanks, Amy.
And that is, this is just an extra tidbit. That is the fund that they are paying for the highway bond payments. I forget what percentage. They're using that, a percentage of that to make those bond payments for the new
And that's why I
highway.
was originally asking, is because all those dollars are kind of committed at this point. We would not be able to lower this tax at this point because commissioners have committed some of it, and we've got the commitment to the community corrections, commitment to.
Right, but if you would
the highway
if
building.
you would lower the property tax relief, that is the whole reason why we have to put this on one page, then everybody would pay.
Yeah, but I was talking
higher.
about lowering the tax rate to 1.5. But we can't really do that because it's all of that money is pretty much committed. That's what I was getting at.
Pretty much.
And the other issue is the fact that for those public safety funds, since those that rate does apply to the cities and towns get some of that money. If any of those cities and towns have bonds that are tied to what they're receiving, we would not be allowed to reduce it until their bonds were paid off. And that has, that's city and towns. That's not anything we would know about.
You mentioned about the amount of reduction, property tax reduction that we have compared to other counties. Do you know what their existing lit rate is? Ours is 1.5. Are they 1? Are they 1.25? Are they 2? 'Cause you can go all the way up to 2.5.
Actually, I do believe I have a report on that. There was a couple documents that were given to the state tax fund task force that's working on the total tax package for Indiana, and I believe some of that information was in there.
That's okay if you don't.
Not all counties have the public safety rate. As a matter of fact, that's one that's coming up in the legislature last year and is up in the legislature this year, because there are a number of volunteer fire departments that are trying to get a piece of that tax rate given to them. Right now, if they're associated with the city, they're getting some, most likely. But there are counties that don't have it, and they cannot demand that the county pass it. So it's been quite controversial as to whether or not that will change. But if it does change, the other problem with that is the way the bills have been written last year and this year, that the money that would be moved to the townships cannot come from the city's portion. Cities and towns would not be affected at all, only the county would lose money to the townships, which the direction, or the hope that the direction goes, is that townships are given their own ability to raise additional funds for their fire departments, because they're all the fire departments are in dire need of finances and of personnel, so anything that can help them. But it's got to be shared. If it does get shared, it needs to come from the cities and towns as well as the county.
Any other comments? Okay.
Need to close the
We'll
public
close the
hearing.
public hearing part. And do we have a motion to approve this local income tax?
Move to close it first.
Oh, we just close it.
Okay.
So we'll do first reading.
I'll make a motion that we approve the,
Excuse me.
that 2024-OCC-1
Yes,
I'll second.
on first reading.
on first reading.
Do we have a second?
Yeah.
Okay, Councilman Kraft. Okay, all those in favor of, and what was the ordinance number again, Susan? I don't have it.
2024-OCC-1.
2024-OCC-1?
Yep.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance on first reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion is approved on first reading.
Okay, so now if you want to do it all in this meeting, we need a motion to suspend the rules to be able to vote on second and third readings.
Okay, do we have a motion to suspend basically the rules here so we could do this suspend the second and third reading here?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to suspend Second and third reading by Councilman Collins, second by Councilman Kraft. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we're moved to approve
On second and third.
on second and
Yep.
third. Okay. Do we have a motion to approve on second and third reading?
So moved.
Councilman Van Wy, thank you for coming through. Do we have a second? Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion is approved.
Was that Dembski?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Councilwoman Dembski. Okay. Anybody need a break right now? Short break, or you want to wait and just keep going? Bob, take a break?
Yeah, I would.
Take 10?
And we need
I
a
went from one meeting to
picture.
the next and drank too much. So.
We got to do a picture of the full council for,
Visitors Bureau is
Visitors.
asking.
Okay, take what, 10 minutes?
Are we gonna do that in the
Five.
stairway or something like that? Or?
I'll take it. Yeah, let's go. We'll do that and I'll just take the picture.
Do we get
Who's 20, stuck out his gut to make him look like he was pregnant. My niece was behind him, like holding his belly, you know. It was a little
It's like you see those, awkward, the most awkward family photos or church photos. Who does that? The men used to put their arms all the way around, like they're holding their lives.
weird, isn't it? Now you look back on it and go,
Absolutely.
that.
Trying to get it to do what? Oh, move to that? Aren't everybody else still off?
Hey. I saw he's,
I had a conversation.
well, I got an email then. Your conversation, must have been probably right after your conversation.
She was working on it when I talked to her.
Well, she sent an email.
No, I didn't worry.
It said, please, I need help. Was it really good? Help me. When I read it, I honestly said, Rita told her to do this. People are afraid that, oh, I'm looking complicated. That's just humbling yourself and saying, help.
That's what I told
I'm
her.
sorry, I just don't know how to do it.
She didn't know how to answer reports. So I had one around it and I said,
Ready to go.
Well, you helped her a lot because they responded in that email very positively.
It goes.
We're looking for a second.
I know, remember you're bringing me flowers.
Somebody brought those hard candies last year, wasn't that you? Those little. You are. You're one of the last great
No, it was
romantics.
Vale.
I'm just messing with him. You see Bob look up like, I didn't bring him in.
If I bring anything, it wasn't healthy.
It was conversation hearts.
Is it the candy heart?
Yeah, he's membership card. So you have to take the membership out of the line.
I had a lot of brand new mangoes.
Oh, you should have.
Okay, council's back. Do we want to go through the three items that were not on the agenda first?
Well, the one was the lit ordinance. That was the public hearing. That one we already did.
Right, Rick talked about, okay, that was the property tax relief piece, okay.
Yeah.
We've got the sheriff's salary.
Yes.
Everybody should have a copy of that.
Every year, the sheriff does a salary contract with the county, and by statute, it is 70% of the prosecutor's, the full-time prosecutor's wage. So for 2024, that value for the sheriff is $124,718. They do, I don't know, we've done a sheriff contract for several years now. Some that don't do those contracts, then their sheriff's,
They get to retain the money that they don't spend in food.
In food.
They get to retain a percentage of the back taxes that they collect, and they can quite often do more than what the contract.
yeah. So the contract is the same language that has been for the last multiple years. It's just the dollar amount that changed. And commissioners approved this at their December 18th meeting.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept this sheriff's contract?
I'll second it. What was the amount again, Susan?
$124,718. 70%
Oh,
of
is it in there?
prosecutor.
Do
Oh,
we have a motion to accept the sheriff's salary contract by Councilman Collins? We have a second by Councilman Van Wy. All those in favor of accepting the salary contract signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Sheriff's salary contract has been approved. Now, the next thing that was not on the agenda is about the rainy day ordinance. I don't know really anything about that.
Okay, so we are able to transfer a percentage of unspent appropriations and unencumbered monies at the end of a budget year. In the past, we had always thought that it was a percentage of the unspent county general balance, but I have learned that it is actually, I can add up all of the funds that the DLGF certifies, which would come on our 1782 notice. All of those that they certify, I can add up all of those unspent, unencumbered balances and take a percentage of that we can take from general and put over to rainy day. So this is the last year to be able to do 15%. So I had provided two different resolutions. The resolution, well, it said like second option. The 15% would mean that we would be able to move $542,859 from county general to rainy day. And rainy day basically doesn't have any restrictions on what you spend it on. I am currently waiting for a response from State Board. I asked DLGF if, because in the past, we didn't move a percentage of everything, we had only moved a percentage of county general, if we could go back and possibly move additional dollars from county general into rainy day so that our rainy day can, get a balance for whatever. We got jail, all kinds of different things that could come. DLGF does not know of any restrictions that would not allow us to do that, but I will wait for State Board to answer and then get those values for you all to decide what you want to do with then.
Taking the higher amount, we'll put money into the rainy day fund that can do two things. One, we want to save money for a jail. Anything we can save will prevent us from having to bond that amount later on. So we want to put as much money into that rainy day fund as possible. Secondly, we have the County Road 56 project is going to be bid by the state on January the 18th. We know that the cost of that project is going to be more expensive than we originally anticipated. So we need money in that budget for that match. Because that County Road 56 project is very, very important. Get that done. Solid because we can't meet our obligation, our match.
Rick, are you saying that that money needs to be put in rainy day so we can use it for the match?
Can be used for a match.
Okay.
If we need it.
If we need it.
So putting it there is,
And as Jeff Peters has suggested to us, rather than establish a fund that is strictly for the jail, that you put it into the rainy day fund, it can be used for the jail, but it's not so restrictive that if some other emergency doesn't come up that you can't touch it.
So it can't be for any other emergency?
It can be for any other emergency. Much money, as much as we can build that up, the better, because anything we can put down on a jail is that much less than we have to borrow. And, we're going to bond it, and we're going to use what's left of the corrections facility tax, which is limited. In our case, it's limited. It is sunsetted. It can't be removed. So, and that's because we took advantage of that tax initially in the first round. They amended it later on and gave it room to be reauthorized. But we took it in the first round, which said no reauthorization. So it's best that we put as much money in that rainy day fund as possible.
and does that also help our credit rating for when we go to borrow that bond?
I would assume so.
More
But
we have in there, the
I would
better.
assume so, but that's not a question that I can answer right now.
Susan, you referred to a percentage of the cash balance. What is the total unobligated cash balance?
From 23.
For everything or just the general?
I guess just, well, what are we talking about moving here? We're talking about, is it everything or just
I'd have-
general?
I'd have to go back and refigure it. So I took the unspent appropriations from all the DLGF funds that they certify from 2023. Then I took away any encumbrances from those funds that will go into 2024, and then I took 15%.
Why 15? Why not the whole thing? I'm
You
learning.
can't, the state, it's statute.
Why not 50? I'm just
Because
asking.
the statute, okay, so the statute actually only allows 10%.
Oh, gotcha.
But for 3 years, they've allowed 15% because of COVID and everything. So this is the last year we can do 15%, and then
Gotcha.
next year it'll go back to 10%. So that's why I'm asking, trying to figure out whether we can move prior year unexpended, unencumbered, that we didn't know that we could move, because we only, I don't even know if it was actually done as a percentage. Like, I know some years, I don't know, they just picked like 300,000 or 275,000.
Gotcha.
So-
Just picked a number.
So I'm not sure it's actually done as a percentage. So if they approve that, then I will go back through all those years of what we didn't spend with all the funds able, take away the encumbrances that we brought forward, and take away if we happen to already move some money from county general to rainy day, and then see if there's an option to move any more.
Got it.
That, the rainy day fund count in this target 34.3 that we try and hold as a balance.
Say that one more time.
On this target thing that Jeff Peters had, we're trying to keep 34%. Is that rainy day fund counted in there? So it doesn't, so if we
No,
put it in there, it
that's
doesn't
cash
take it out of our
balance-
34.
That's cash balance on the general fund.
That's cash balance, so it does lower that number. But we
So
think
if-
that's pretty high for this year already.
It's unacceptably high.
So we have room to pull more out if we can go back on these years.
So at the end of 2023, so when you guys, in 2023, when you guys worked on the 23 budget, your target cash balance that you went with was 26.40%. You agreed to go under the 30% because you knew that you had cash reserves. After everything's said and done, and including this rainy day money coming out of that, we will end 23 with a 76% cash balance.
And that is truly an unacceptable amount, but there are two things. Sandy's here to talk to us about what she's made for us in interest during 23. Plus, there were a number of positions that were not filled throughout 23. So we had money that would not have been spent. And what I asked Susan to do earlier is to get a hold of Jeff Peters and do a very deep dive into why that percentage is so high. Because it is truly, it's unacceptable. So hopefully we'll have more information by the next meeting.
After you take just 15% for this year, or is that?
Just the 15% for this year.
So we got plenty of room, lots of room, if you can get the back year.
I can go back
Difference.
years, yeah. And just for, because it shocked me at where we were, and just for, and Sandy will go into this, but just for an example, in 23 alone, interest earned just in the general fund, and she'll talk about everything, but just in the general fund was a little over, well, not a little, but it was 3.285 million. In 23, or in 22, for the general fund only, it was 671,000.
Big difference.
So there's a huge difference in that interest, which is kind of skewing our numbers, but not. I mean, this is reality, but because she was able to get so much with the interest rates, that's why we ended up with a lot more than what we thought we would have.
We can only do 15% of that for the rainy day.
And this 542,859 is 15% of all of the funds I'm allowed to get a balance of, minus encumbrances.
Allowed to pay down. We could set aside, can we set aside money?
Well,
Important.
you know, community corrections is an issue. But another reason to set this money aside is that Sunny Meadows is in dire need of many, many improvements if we're going to continue with the Sunny Meadows operation. We're going to need money for that, so that, it being in the, not in the reserves, but in the cash balance is money that we can spend to do the upgrades that the commissioners are going to need to do in that building. Because if we're going to continue to operate, we need to upgrade the building where it's livable.
The county general. No, if you put it, no. Yes.
Talking about using it for the
It is, and Ben just told us that the letting is expected to come out on January 18th. So we should know better what our match is going to be for that. So until we figure that out, some things are kind of up in the air. And the other thing is until I know if I can give you other values that we can move to rainy day, we're kind of at a standstill at the moment. But I just wanted to let you guys know that it may be a possibility and that this year I for sure did all of the funds, the 15% that I could do.
15% pass, or do you need us to wait?
I
until you
need
find out what-
resolution 2024 RCC2 passed for the 2023
Then it goes
budget.
back to 10%.
Then it goes back to 10%.
But she's still going to try to get the amended ones for the other years, and that'll be another resolution.
I'm gonna go back as far as I can, because we didn't always move. I mean, obviously, you can see here in 2013, we only had a 4% cash balance. So I'm not gonna go back that far, but I'll go back as far as we can, but still keep at least the 34-ish% of a cash balance in general. And if I am able to do that, I will actually have a resolution for each year, each budget year. I'm not gonna put them all on one. It could have 5 different resolutions, but it'll be separated by the budget year.
Which, please remember that in 2013, our cash balance at the end of the year was only 4.5%. It moved up to 8% the next year, but it should have always been somewhere between 25 and 30%. That's the work this council has done over these last 10 years, has made that improvement, made us on firm financial standing, given us the good rate that we can get with our borrowing when we need to borrow, because this council has done that job. I think everybody needs to be commended for that, because in 2013, we were a few months away from being in the hole.
As well as, turn your mic on. As well as I would think the ability that you guys are letting us still keep Jeff Peters with us, because he's helped a lot, him and Nikki, to get us where we're at.
But it's almost like an oxymoron. The more we're saving, the less we can save.
Right? I know.
It just, it's kind of like being penalized for being financially prudent.
Mm-hmm.
The thing you got to be careful of too is the fact that, there is the tax force that is working at the state to try to do away with the state income tax they're that's going to hit the legislature in 2025. If you look at the other states that are constantly promoted because they have no state income tax, they also have the highest property tax in the country. And by eliminating the the state income tax, many of those functions of government are pushed from the state level to the county level, and they're forced, the locals have to pay for it. And quite honestly, I don't want to go to a average homeowner and ask them to pay a $5,000 or $6,000 yearly property tax bill, because all those things were pushed down. The local option income tax has helped us. The state has paid for many functions that we don't have to pay for. And I think that needs to be appreciated, that doing away with the state income tax is a very dangerous thing for locals.
Especially since some of those property owners are seniors and their income isn't going up, and they're gonna have to pay more in property taxes.
And that's the other thing, there are several bills in the legislature that have been there previously and are there again, that are reducing the amount of property tax owed by seniors, by veterans, by disabled veterans. And when that happens, then that money needed for the general fund is going to go up for everybody else. Now, the seniors deserve it, the veterans deserve it, I don't discount that. But everybody is trying to take away money. And, we still have many functions that have to go. I've asked Susan and Jody to get us some numbers here, because a very large percentage of what we spend our general fund on every year are related to the judicial system, the sheriff, the clerk's office, the courts, the probation department, community corrections. There are many, we're probably pushing 40–50% of our budget goes towards those judicial items. So we need to be very careful there. The state gave us the ability last year to do I think it's a 0.3% amount to pay for the judicial system, but it can pay for no more than 50% of the judicial system. I don't know that anybody wants to go there. We have the ability now to put a 0.2% tax in the local option income tax to pay for EMS. Commissioners currently take that dollar amount out of their LIDIT funds. That's one of the things that comes out of their LIDIT funds. We could make that change, but I don't know that anybody wants to go there. Just, be careful with what you do, because it's not so much how it'll affect next year, it's what it's going to do 5 years or 10 years down the line. That's what you got to be thinking about.
I'd like to make a motion to pass resolution number 2024 RCC 2, this one with the 15% basis.
That's the one of 542,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Kraft to produce, or, to approve the ordinance that will allow the 15%, which would be $542,859 to transfer it to the rainy day fund, and that is seconded by Councilwoman Dembski. Any discussion?
I'm just going to add on to what Rick had to say. I know most of you were watching the football game last night, but on the news, they were discussing what NIPSCO was doing down to Fort Wayne, raising their gas prices, and that was only over $10 to $15 a month.
That's 10%.
Yeah, and that's what it takes on the senior citizens. So if we have to go through this in property, this is going to be rough for everybody.
Couldn't agree with you more. Absolutely. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion is carried. Sandy, you're here to present about the Board of Finance results.
Susan, I have a quick question. Is there another account any other accounts that we can
Thank you,
tuck
young lady.
money into in case we need a grant match outside of that amount? Like if we're doing the rainy day for, let's say, the County Road 56 project, is there another account for a grant match for something else in case we need it?
Other than a highway grant? So we plan for that in different funds, like we have that in, we can do that in the motor vehicle, highway restricted fund. There's a couple other funds that we can do that in that I budget for every year.
What about, we haven't spent riverboat money for a little while. There's money there that could be used too.
We use, we've been using that to help with the sheriff's pension, but it's starting to grow.
Yeah.
Okay, Sandy, thank you for coming in.
Sure. Good morning. I'm Sandy Wilcox, the DeKalb County Treasurer. I gave a packet out. This is information that was shared and approved by our Board of Finance, which happens once a year in Commissioners Court. That happened yesterday. But some of these numbers, I'm pretty excited about. So I wanted to make sure that everyone was aware. The first sheet that you have there, this is what our cash balances were as of the end of the year. $65,583,212. So that is up substantially. Last year it was 57.6 million. The year before it was 46.7. So our cash reserves, in the last 2 years have gone up about 40%. So I know you guys had a previous discussion here talking about those. There's some dollars in there I know that are earmarked for ARP dollars. Some of that includes the bond money that we have. So it is earmarked. So I would have expected it to have gone up, and it has. So there's a breakdown of how it's allocated. We have our CDs that we typically have. We've got a couple that are coming due here soon. I'm going to try to get those pushed out for as long as I can because I know interest rates have probably peaked at this point. So I'll try to lock in something pretty good. And then our other dollars, that's kind of a breakdown. I try to keep as much as possible locally, with Community State being our main one. And then Trust Indiana, which is at the state level. It's sponsored through the secretary or the treasurer's office down there, and they get us pretty decent rates. Actually, the rate for them yesterday was about 5.45 compared to our local, which we try to keep money there. They're not, because they have a storefront. It's only about 3.6%. So we do a good shuffling back and forth to make sure that we keep as much as high as possible, but at the same time provide the liquidity that the auditor's office needs to pay the claims and whatnot. Some days are better than others, aren't they, Susan?
We figure it out. No, we actually work very well together.
We do.
Both
We
of our
absolutely
offices work
do.
great.
Yes, I always ask for what she plans to spend, and she gives those to me, and we work that out easily. So, the second page is just kind of a comparison of the interest that we have earned in the last 3 years. This year, on all of our funds and the highway bond, because those we have to keep the bond interest separate because that is chugged back, pays along the dividends and the interest for that. And then the highway department, we keep that one separate. So the all funds goes into county general, and then so we earned in 23, we earned $3,572,311 compared to the prior year, which was $872,032. That is money that is available to you guys to spend. However, and it sounds like you're being pretty good stewards with the rainy day fund. I was glad to hear that you're going to go back and hopefully be able to put some of that money aside for that. So the interest that we earned in 23 is actually more than what we earned interest for the last 10 years combined. So it's just amazing, when the market, the interest rates are up, we try to cash in on those. So, thank you. Yeah, right. Yeah, my husband says the same thing, yeah.
While we're talking about these numbers, commissioners, would you cover your ears, please?
They're well aware of them, of those numbers. Yeah.
Sandy, that's incredible numbers. But I am concerned, and we talked about this, you and I, you're terming out fairly soon. Is your person you're hoping that's going to be taking your place? It's an election, so you don't have guarantees, but do they know everything that you're doing to create this kind of a return? I mean, this is phenomenal. We want to keep this going when a new treasurer's elected.
I'm glad you asked that, Bob, because
Or at least somebody else in your office or something.
Yes, my chief deputy, Joni Humberger, who's sitting back here, she has been on my side for the last 8 years. She is very familiar with this, and this year is a transition year. She is going to run for my office, and I strongly endorse her. And this year, I'm working side by side, as we have in the past few years, and she's well aware of the philosophy and how we're moving funds and trying to capture the best. So I'm hoping that continuity will flow right into for next year.
That's great.
Yeah. Now, interest rates are going to go down in 24.
let's not.
I don't want to set
Let's not put that pressure on her now, because the rates will definitely be different.
Yeah, I'm sure for next year, even, the 3.5 is not going to be there. I still expect a substantial amount, but interest rates are falling, and, I don't expect a big dive. Others do, but, I don't particularly what I've read. So she's well aware of how all that works, and, I'm hoping that she will be my replacement. So, yep. And then the next page is just kind of a summary of what banks we earn them, so you kind of get an idea. We try to keep as much local, as I said, but you can see the numbers at Trust Indiana, obviously, because of their higher rates, and we give them as much. Had we kept everything in our local bank, that number would be about $2 million less. So you would only be looking at 1.5 versus 3.5. So the next page is kind of a summary of collections. This is more of how we track. We collected in taxes. This would be from property tax, people coming in our office, or checks that came through our office of $58,417,726. We had deposits that came through our office from other departments, $186,287,343. And then we collect also in our office excise tax. That would be through the BMV, the excise tax that's collected there, lottery winnings, auto rental, aircraft, anything that's excise. That was just over $6 million. And then, of course, our investments, which is 2.3. So through our office, the cash flow that was $253,088,038. So that's $250 million that flowed through our office, and was handled by myself, my chief deputy, and my 2 employees. So quite a little bit of responsibility there. And then we keep track of trends. I'm a numbers person. I admit I'm a geek when it comes to that. So we kept track of how many checks came through our office, whether it was somebody who walked in, the mail, the boxes of mail that comes in, or through our drop box. So about 52% of our tax payments come in through that means, 27.4% through mortgage escrow companies, 15% through electronic payments, and then our partner banks, we've got locations, we've set up our banks in each of the major cities, so we've got 9 banks that actually collect for us, all the way from Ashley to Butler to Waterloo to Garrett, so that at any given time, you can go on a Saturday to pay your taxes. You've got till 5 p.m. So we tried to make it as convenient as possible. So they collect about 5%. And then just our miscellaneous, through our collection agency, through Trex, those that we intercept their tax return after they get so delinquent. So that's kind of a snapshot there. We also track our delinquency rates because that impacts our office by how much work we have to follow up to make sure that Trex or the collection agency, that dictates our volume there. And that has been pretty steady, around 7%. And then our number of parcels that we put on tax sale has gone down. We try to work with those people as much as possible. This year we had 70 parcels. Some of those are repeat offenders, but for the most part, we try to keep that number as low as possible. That's our goal.
So it's interesting, the delinquency rate stayed about the same, but you're less than half from 5 years ago on the tax sale.
Part of that has to do with, there was a chunk of parcels in the city of Butler that was assigned, some of the ones that have been on there historically, year after year. Those were deeded over to the city so that they could work with those properties. So that's where you're seeing a
Significant drop between
significant
21
drop.
and 20.
Yeah, about 40, 45 parcels went over to them so that they could manage those and get those back to be productive and back on the tax rolls. And we've seen some activity there. So, yeah. And then the last page is, it's always good to take a look to see, where we've been and where we want to go. Our achievements in our treasurer's office, we put in a new payment portal this year, Invoice Cloud. That went live February 1st. That took a lot of effort for my staff. We replaced our credit card system and our on payment where it automatically pays it on the due date. We're still working out some bugs on that, but for the most part, that's been very successful. Where you can get a page that says your taxes are due, you click on a button and it goes out and it pays it. So it's provided a lot of convenience. We earned interest on our county funds more this year than ever. We worked with Beacon Schneider on the GIS platform to get real estate, mobile home, and personal property combined on one. Previously, you had to know that you were searching a mobile home, but if you went into the port that said real estate, you weren't finding it. It was just the way it was designed and set up originally. So we worked with them to get that all on one, so it didn't matter what you were looking for, you could find it. This year, for the first time, we had an online tax sale. Previously, we always had it in person, so you had to be local, you had to be here to bid. Whereas this year, we had people from California and Texas that actually bought properties through our tax sale. So that opened up the audience to a much wider group. And then my first deputy, she completed courses through NACO for the professional development. That's to get her ready for next year, and so she can slide in and be ready to go. Our goals for '24, continue to work. We've got an ongoing project with the auditor's office. Parcels that are unknown or unknown locations, we're trying to identify them. We're trying to get them on the Beacon map and clean up. That's been a multi-year process. We're also working to keep our postage costs down for billing. Every time we bill out, it's about a $20,000 bill that the county pays. We're trying to keep the costs down. If we can go electronic, that you get that page and you don't need a tax bill, let's save ourselves some money. So we're going to continue to work on that to get that set up. Then my goal for next year is to earn between $1.5 and $2 million interest, so that you guys all have that. That's the goal. We're working to digitize our office. The goal has always been to be paperless over there. We're just about there. Our bankruptcy files, which we're accounted, or it's our responsibility that if you file bankruptcy anywhere in the county and you're a property owner, we have to file claims with the federal bankruptcy courts so that your taxes get paid through that bankruptcy. That's a pretty intense process, but we're working to digitize that this year so that we don't have file cabinets full of paper on that. And then Community State, we're working with them to enable, we've always had positive pay. Well, we haven't always. The last few years, we've had positive pay on our physical check so that if somebody tries to mess with the numbers, it bounces back to us. We're working to get that on ACH transactions. So that's a big piece that we're working with. And then the green receipt process, which doesn't mean anything to you, but it means something to all the other departments. When they come in and deposit a check with us, we give them a green receipt, which they take to the auditor's office, who then does the quietest, then gives that back to us. So we're working to streamline that this year. So we've got some ideas there. And then just continue, we reorganized my office last year, and we've got one piece of training left for 2 of my associates. Once they're trained on that, all 4 of us will be trained on all the processes, so it doesn't matter who you go to or whatever the piece is. It's a multi-faceted individual who can do anything. So that's been a 2-year process, and we're just about there. So we've been really busy. I mean, we do more than just collect taxes 2 weeks out of the year, which, we hear that, but there is a lot that goes on in our office. So I'm just very pleased with where we've been and what we've been able to accomplish. And I've got a great staff, and, I commend them. They make this job easy because of, they're willing to step up and do whatever it takes. So, does anybody have any questions?
Had one on the investments, excise collected,
Yeah.
the aircraft, is that just on fuel or is that taxes for people?
That would be the excise tax for people who own aircraft. Anyone who hasn't, we just got a list this morning, anyone who has an aircraft that sits out at the airport, there's an annual excise tax that they pay. And so that comes through our office. They pay it to the state, then we get our portion of it.
So if someone owns it from Allen County, owns an airplane, house it in DeKalb County,
They pay the excise tax, that is correct. Yes, it's not a huge dollar amount. I think last year it might have been around 38,000. I mean, there's not a ton of airplanes out there,
Right.
but yeah.
I think we're going to see.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, that's my understanding, yes. Okay.
Andy, I'd just like to add, great job. And I
you.
really like your presentation and your report. It's simple, it's straightforward, and it just cuts right through the chase real quick, and I like that. And I know the council greatly appreciates it. So thank you for an
Yes, thank
excellent
you.
job.
Oh, you're welcome, thank you. Yes, this is,
Sandy, I'd also like to point out that Joni's been through some of the NACO training.
Yes.
As many of our people have been through that training. And thankfully, you encourage people to get training, and that has been of great benefit to all of us. And it'll be of great benefit to Joni if
Yes.
she is successful and takes over your job in a year.
yep, I
But
would agree.
It's very important, and I would encourage the council to take advantage of those same trainings, either through the Association of Counties or through NACO.
Yep, I would agree. Thank you for allowing, the budget to be able to do that, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along, the council commissioners' discussion.
Good morning. If I could, I will start out first, and then if Mike has anything to add, he's welcome to do that. Right off the bat, I want to address the Sunny Meadows issue. I heard that brought up earlier, that there was going to be some expenses out there. We are diving into that. One thing we have done out there last fall was install a new high-efficiency gas water heater. We had a water heater out there was bleeding water rather profusely. So that's been taken care of. The next big project, most important project out there, most needed, is the shower rooms. And that is to start the remodel of those shower rooms, should be started now or very soon. It's to start at the first of the year. And part of that will be covered by donations from Pranger Enterprise. They're going to donate some product and some labor. The rest of that would be covered by the commissioners with ARPA funds. That's already been spearheaded towards the county farm, Sunny Meadows. So that should be taken care of. We have a new handicap ramp out there that was donated. So Sunny Meadows is moving along. I think we were in a good place there. New roof on the kitchen area a couple, 3 years ago. So we have been on that, trying to keep up with those requirements that's needed out there.
Bill, the bathroom remodel, is that going to include some really good ventilation? Because I think that's one of the biggest issues.
Oh,
is
yeah.
that
I mean,
with
it's
what we
gonna
have
be a
now
complete-
going on is because there's no good vents there.
Yeah, it's a complete tear out, a complete remodel. We've already got the new windows into those 2 shower rooms. Those are installed when the weather was a little more accepting to that. So that's been done. Frank Nestor is the lead contractor on that. And so we'll have those up and running. We'll do one, of course, and then the other one. So we're really happy with that. Angela Brown is just really tickled that that's moving forward, because they were in bad shape, leaking through the floor, moisture issues, electric issues, you name it, but it'll be a complete revamp. The other thing I wanted to address is the highway build. We are progressing, but we are, it's been a little slow. We've had some setbacks, not anything really critical. It's just getting people on the job and get the jobs done. The big issue out there is the shop. The thing that's needed most is the thing that's the farthest behind at this point. So we're pushing FCI to get on this and get it done. We need to be moving in there the 1st of March. We don't want to be moving in May and June when we've got road projects to do. So I've told, and Mike also, we've told FCI we got to be able to move in there in March. Now, the salt barn is complete. We can use that for short-term storage up to a point until we need to put next year's salt in that salt barn. The pole barn, the poles are up, the purlins are on. So it's underway. The fuel station, the foundation is poured, the slab's poured, the plumbing is in. They are supposed to set the tank this week. And then they can get the pumps in and get that up and operating. The truck storage barn is probably 95% complete. And so we can get our trucks in there with no problem. The big problem, of course, is the shop. The administration part is coming along. It's been painted. It's been revamped, painted. There's some mechanical parts that need to be finished up in that area. And one thing we've been waiting on forever, is the overhead doors. We finally got the man doors, got those in. The overhead doors, they were promised the 26th of December, didn't come. It was promised last week, didn't come. Supposed to be there this week. But we really need to get those on the shop, then we get in the shop and really get at that. Keep the weather out. But it's moving along. Like I say, it was supposed to be done this month. It's not going to happen, obviously. But, we really have to be in there the 1st of March, be able to move the month of March, and that'll put us in good shape then to transition over into summer projects. So that's about all I had on that. Any questions?
Couple questions, Bill. One, and I don't want to put you on the spot right now, I'm not going to do that, but maybe next month, could you give us a kind of an overview where we're at financially with the project? I mean, are we pretty much on target? We saving money? Are we looking like we're going to be over, or we're just, and I'm not trying to pin you down right now.
I have a huge spreadsheet that I keep of everything we've done, so let me finish it, complete it for the end of '23, and yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't, we don't have to have all the, just kind of where we're at in a nutshell. I think the council would want to know where we're at, and I just, you know, maybe every month or every couple months, just so we don't have any big surprises coming down. the
Yeah.
road. That's
So
fine.
let me button up my end, and then we can talk. You guys have the other picture of it that I don't have,
And actually, I don't think we have anything major that's going to be a big monetary drag on the project. The one thing we are going to do a change on, and that is the main hallway through the administration part, going to the administration part through the new restrooms and the break area, training area. Everything else is to be finished with a finished ceiling, of course. You walk in that hallway, and the ceiling in that hallway is 15 foot high. And it's got pipes running across it and air ducts running across it. And they said, well, what, we're going to put a ceiling there? No, it's not scheduled for a ceiling. Well, that hallway is adjacent to the mezzanine of the old Anderson building. So if we don't put a ceiling in there, the heat's going to go up that hallway, up the ceiling and into the mezzanine. So we said, we got to have it looks terrible. So we need a ceiling in there. So they're going to put a ceiling. We haven't gotten a cost on that. It shouldn't be substantial. We did determine if we went with the 8-foot ceiling, it would be more cost effective. And that's what we're going to put in is an 8-foot ceiling rather than have to step it up and do some extra work that wouldn't actually be necessary. The rest of that area will have 11-foot ceilings, but the hallway will be 8-foot. I don't think that's going to be a big cost. It's a matter of hanging the grid and putting ceiling tiles up. So,
Bill, is there anything that we might owe to the city of Auburn if we don't move out
No.
upon the right
No,
time?
we've signed the agreement with them that they are going to take the bridge, the old iron bridge, and if we do extend over that April 30th deadline, that will also cover any extension.
Okay.
So we're good to go there. And like I say, we really need to be out of there in March and not April.
But they're gonna keep the bridge in
They're going to
this
keep the
trade?
bridge. Yeah, yeah. So we looked at other ideas with that bridge, and that was just going to be the simplest. Makes them happy, makes us happy, and we're done with it. Yeah. Anything else?
Quick question, Bill. On the barn out at the county farm, is there anybody using it out there? Is it empty or?
It's being used, and that will go up for rebid next month, along with the farm ground. It'll be separate contracts with probably different people that will rent those. And so that is going up for rebid. And we have put last year we rented it out for $1,500. The barn, he's got cattle in there, some pasture. And that's a big facility, big barn, and we put a ceiling on that this year. It's got to be, we're going to reject anything under 3,000 probably and have it rebid because it's just worth more than $1,500 a year rent.
Any repairs coming up for it? Is it in pretty good shape yet, or is it in pretty good shape yet, or any repairs?
Right now, the barn itself, and I'll segue into the new maintenance person that we've put on. That maintenance person will cover Sunny Meadows, County Farm Buildings, Central Dispatch, and Community Corrections. And part of his responsibility out there will be maintenance in general. Will take over the mowing and snow removal of all three of those facilities. So we're spending quite a bit of money to have that done, contracted out. So they will be taking over those projects. The other thing that, and I talked to Larry Lane, has expressed the desire to get when you have the high lift in here to do the windows and so forth, trimming around the courthouse, they will take that out to the county farm. He wants to do some tree trimming out there. In addition to that, we have a window that's out of the west end of the big bank barn and a piece of siding. They're saying they can get up there and fix that. I've tried to get that fixed for 3-4 years. You can't get anybody out there to do it. small job. Nobody wants, even the Amish couldn't get them interested. So Larry and the crew, they're going to take care of that, fix that window and get that sealed up so we're not having water blowing into that bank barn. So things are moving out there. We keep at it.
County Fire Barn, was there some discussion, I may be confused about this, but was there some discussion about adding some acreage to the barn rental itself? Or is that a totally different? No.
There was acreage going to be designated to the soil and water. 12 acres in the front on the east of the barn along County Road 40. Soil and Water wanted to do a plot out there, a crop plot. And we said, okay, that would be fine, but we did not want to take that rent away from County Farm Project, the Sunny Meadows. So they have agreed to come up with that rent amount, whatever it is for the rest, pay for the rent on that 12 acres. So we're not losing that income.
And their board approved it. Nellie let me know that their board did approve it, so
Okay, yeah.
it was a for sure thing.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying.
When is the bid?
So there's two different things though, Rick. Let me explain this. So there is a bid to do the cash rent of the farming of the land
Correct.
minus that little area. Then there's a different bid for the barn storage thing. So there's two different bids that are happening, and those are due on the 22nd.
I was gonna say I saw the farm bid was in the paper, but I don't know about the
It was
barn.
They both, there should be one in today. I had a little
There is an
issue with some
exception
things.
to the farm buildings, and that is the pole barn that the highway department uses. And once the highway department is finished, I think we will empty that barn out, and Soil and Water would like to use that for their seminars and so forth. And we could still use some of it for storage. The other project out there in that pole barn is a separate cordoned off area. It's kind of a shop. And maintenance wants to use that. So they have cleaned that out. There was an old boat in there we had to get rid of that had no title, no ownership. Nobody claimed it. So we got rid of the old boat and a bunch of miscellaneous, just parts and pieces and junks and old mowers. So Larry and the crew are cleaned that out. They are going to fix it up so the maintenance man has a place to base out of and put his maintenance truck in. And that is another bit of conversation I will add. The truck we use for weights and measures, we would like to get that department a van that he can put a advanced prover in. And a prover is what they use to measure gasoline and diesel fuel. As it is now, he has to carry the gas, he pumps gas into a 5-gallon can and has to carry it over to the station's underground storage and dump them. He's back and forth and back and forth. This new prover, he will pump right into the prover. But we need a van to do that. And then we're going to take these previous pickup truck with the enclosed cap on it and use that and designate that for the maintenance man. So he can use that to go back and forth with his tools and whatever he needs to the 3 facilities that he's going to be covering.
We talked about that van at budget time or something. I think we already approved him getting a van.
Yeah.
So.
And Todd's working on that. They've found one that's going up to auction. It's supposed to go last week. It's coming up next week. It'll fit the bill. New vans are approaching $60,000. And they said, well, you might get it in 18 months, maybe, if we're lucky. So we're going for a used van. We found one. It's a Dodge high-top van with, I think it's got 15,000 miles on it.
Bill,
And so,
I did
and probably
wanna-
for maybe high 30s, we can get that bought.
I did want to just compliment the maintenance guy that they have that's doing those 3 buildings. That's been a huge help for Sunny Meadows. I mean, we didn't have anything, and it was very difficult, just the little day-to-day things. And Angela's told me that and he works really, really well with people when he's at different buildings. So we really appreciate that. I have a little concern about budgeting for the maintenance department. Did he budget? It's going to be a great help that we don't have to cover our own lawn mowing and snow plowing now, because we don't have to contract that out all individually. And it's hard to get people, and it's hard to get people to do such a small job. I think this will be a great addition, but do we have enough budget in the maintenance department to cover him doing all of that?
Yeah, we did discuss that yesterday. I think last year, correct me if I'm wrong, Susan, we spent like $20,000 for mowing. We approved a new mower yesterday for $23,000. So right off the bat, we're going to cover the price of that mower in just a little over a year.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we may have to do an additional or something. I don't know if you have enough, because those monies for snow plowing and mowing were in those departments' budgets. They won't need those now, and
So
you may
for
have to
this
get more maintenance.
first year, as we transition into this, some of it, the only one that really matters is the Sunny Meadows. Some expenses may have to come from there, which would in essence be the same because it's all county general. Then certain pieces of it have come from grant and public safety lit, but those are the wage parts. So this year in the transition, it might look a little choppy for some of the claims until we get to that point to be able to budget.
Yeah, it's a great
correctly.
move, I think.
Oh,
and
yeah.
We just need to make sure that we can fund it, we need to fund it for.
We're finding, it's hard to get people to do these jobs, especially little jobs, and we can do it in-house cheaper, less expense, and yeah, it's another personnel, but I've heard great things about this new maintenance man that we have hired. Everybody's just tickled to death with him, and he's just jumped right in. He enjoys the job. He loves working for us, so it looks like a win-win all the way around.
One other thing that just came up yesterday is our building inspector is going to have to get a new truck, so that will most likely be coming as an additional appropriation. It'll be a trade-in. Bill can probably explain why we're getting it because it's over my head, but that would be something that we didn't know when we were planning budget.
Yeah.
I don't know, something about a transmission.
Yeah, we have a transmission problem. It's $6,000, $7,000 to replace that transmission with a new one. Truck's got 80,000 miles on it. It's not wore out, but it does have some miles on it. And so we've decided, and then there's a problem with these 8 and 10 speed transmissions in these new trucks. And why, these car makers are just, sometimes you wonder, what are they doing? Why are they doing this? But there's more moving parts, there's more possibilities of breakdown, and that's what they're finding. They're having trouble with these 8 and 10 speed transmissions. So rather than replace that transmission, we're going to trade the truck as is. It's operable. It does drive. It's got some problems that's going to creep up in the future, and we trade it in and get a full size instead of the compact truck. And we'll go from there and be back under warranty with the transmission deal. We could put a used transmission in it for $3,000. 12,000 mile warranty, I think, was all that has on it. And you might be right back in the same situation a few months from now. So we're looking to trade it off. Todd's going to look into finding something that will fit the bill. Maybe not necessarily new, but something that would do the job.
I think that, was it Russmore that they took it to? It was either Russmore or Summit. One of them told them that it was like a repeating issue, so like.
Well, some won't even work on them, 8 speeds.
Right.
Yeah, they won't even work
And
on
then
them.
the other one said it was a known issue, and so, I mean,
It's
we
a
might have
known
been
issue with these
putting them in every
multi-speed
few years.
transmissions. And why they went to these, I've got one in my truck. I'd rather have the 6-speed. I've got an 8-speed. I haven't had too much trouble. I had to change out the fluid when it had 7,000 miles on it, but it's been good since. But there again, it's not as good a transmission as the 6 speeds were. But it is what it is. You can't get the 6 speeds anymore. So we'll have to roll the dice and we'll go for a new truck.
Bill, you said something about the windows in the bathroom at Sunny Meadows. Did I see something in previous windows in the building?
It's not critical at this point. Those are the two that, probably because of the moisture that really deteriorated At some point, that could become an issue in the future. You probably, I would guess. So, yeah, that's something that might come up also. Mm-hmm. Yeah, keep it, right, right. And that's, if you look at what we've done in the last 5 years that I've been a part of, is maintenance, improvement, maintenance, getting on maintenance, keeping maintenance caught up. We were behind. We've done a lot of projects, and we will stay on that. The longer you leave a problem go, the more it's going to cost. We got to stay up with maintenance on our buildings and our facilities, and that's what I'm kind of all about. That's my niche, and I'm proud of it. So, anything else?
Anybody have anything else for Bill? So, thanks, Bill. Appreciate the updates. Good report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rick, anybody else have anything for the commissioners right now? I know you want to, excuse me, briefly address the wheel tax issue.
Yes, that was one of the things left open from 2023. Is still an issue. We still have our issue with the highway fund. And it was up in the air as to whether or not when we bring that wheel tax question back. If it's going to be addressed in 24, it's got to happen before August. But at this point, I see no reason to bring it up unless the commissioners come up with some type of a plan as to what is needed. Many counties have gone with a 5- and 10-year plan for addressing the maintenance of their roads, the paving of those roads that are not paved. There's the whole bridge issue. Yesterday, they were talking about, in the commissioners' meeting, they were talking about the small bridge structures. Those, this type of small bridge structure that exists out there was something that was started approximately 40 years ago, and they only had a 40-year life or 50-year life, and we're coming up on that time frame. So many of those structures are going to have to be replaced. So if we're going to address a wheel tax, we need a plan, and we need a plan from the commissioners. That's their responsibility. The comment that was made by one of the commissioners that just make it the maximum, we'll spend whatever you give us, is not appropriate. We need to have an actual plan of this is the amount of money we need to accomplish these goals in a certain amount of time. That's standard planning in any business. So I would encourage the commissioners to put together that plan and bring it back to the council. If not, then we'll deal with the highway department as we can with the money that we have. If we fall in the negative, we fall in the negative because there's not any money in the general fund to be moved over there. So, Bob?
Will we know, by summertime on Ben Smaltz has told me a couple of times we are going to be getting less money. It should be the same for the highway department. And then, so I'm curious about that. But the second thing is, I know there's talk in the State House about counties possibly doing a sales tax, gas tax % or something. It would be prudent to know whether that's going to be a possibility and come down the line before we pass a new tax.
It would be good to know. We would know if that's going to operate or happen this year. We would know by the first week in March. The legislature is going to be complete by the 14th of March. Are they going to pass any new taxes? Probably not. This tax force that is putting together a plan for the 25 year that addresses all of the taxes that we pay, everything would probably wait on that. So you're talking about 25 before it would ever happen.
Have you heard that they were going to try and put the wording together this year and not pass it? I heard that from somebody.
They may have, as of yesterday morning, there was nothing on the website that would have addressed it. Now, they have until the end of this week to add different ordinances or different bills to the hopper for what happens this year. But I saw nothing in relation to the highways.
There, as of right now, nobody knows if that has any momentum for this session. Doesn't look real likely on the local fuel tax supplement. In addition to the big tax committee, there's the first Fund Indiana.
There's a highway.
Yeah,
There's a highway task force
group,
also.
which is studying the funding for the road formula and several other things too. So until that runs through the cycle, it's unlikely that anything's going to get really moved. I don't look for anything this session.
And those results from the tax task force and the highway funding task force are not due until 25. So it's a while out. It is what it is. I mean, we know that the issue exists and we need to address it. We can't continue to knock it down the road. But until we're given an amount that is needed, is there any point in passing a tax? I say no. That we need to have some guidance.
Does that sound doable, Mike, Bill, to start looking at a plan here?
I believe Ben Parker presented a plan of what was needed. It's what he has told me. He gave it to everybody on the council and the commissioners. You want a plan, but we need to know what the money's going to be. How are we going to fit a plan? We don't know what the money's going to be. And we do the best we can with what we have. We will continue to do that. Ben is doing a good job with that. The small structure thing, I made a statement, a lot of them is going to be replaced. We don't know that. We have no, until we have the inspection, which we are going to, Ben has the money to do, that was approved, to have the inspection. And by the way, there's 375 of those small structures. We have no clue how many of those will need to be replaced. It may be 100, it may be 10. So until we get that report, we don't know. So we're throwing statements around that we have no credibility in my mind. So anyway, talk to Ben. He knows what he needs. He knows what his goals would like to be. But we'd like to do a lot more road conversions. Obviously, we'd do whatever we get the money that we can afford to do. We can't do more than we got the money for. So, and that's why the statement come up, will give us whatever you can give us, we'll spend. And it's that simple. You can set a goal. If you can't meet the goal with the money, what's the purpose of the goal?
Okay, thanks, Bill.
Well,
Bob, as I think you're the liaison, has Ben talked to you at all about any of that, and what is his thoughts and plans as far as what's a number, or what are the plans that he's discussed with you at all?
Figures, but it was a little confusing at that point. We were trying to make a decision in one day, and that's why we think it's important to get ahead of this. Like Rick said, maybe in May or something, we need to be looking at what is the need, what do we need to get done, and then maybe we'll have a better idea where the state's headed to, because I don't want to pass this tax if there's other money coming, or if we don't need it. I keep getting feedback that we're not getting less dollars, we're not going to be bankrupt, but it's opposite of what Jeff Peters is telling us. So we need to dig deeper and find out what the bottom line is there.
that spreadsheet that Brad and Ben and I worked on is a good basis. The way it was laid out was pretty confusing.
Yeah.
And it was actually got misinterpreted, but it's a good starting point at least. So it's something we can work with.
Maybe we can give it to Sandy and she can simplify it.
Well,
Hey, one thing we need to look at, and if we're going to push forward, whether you're for the wheel tax or not, I know we have a committee of 3 people on this council. And we need to sit down and say, okay, and what I think we should do is sit down and says, here's Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C, and see how much money, if we're going to go max, if we're going to go 75% or 80%, I think was the other deal, and let's put it out there, give it to the commissioners, say, hey, we're going to raise 500,000, let's say. What do you think your programs, or give it to Ben, I would say, instead of the commissioners, what would this do? Is it worth us raising the tax for you to do these programs and stuff? I think it's going to have to be a process that we go back and forth, and then if we don't think raising the taxes or raising the tax on wheel tax, we should either we make a recommendation to the council. If it's voted down, it's voted down. If we make a recommendation, it's voted yes, then we'll go from there. But we've got, both of us has got our jobs we got to do. He's right. We need to show him, say, hey, we're going to have 350, 500,000. But that way they can put a solid plan together, because, my theory, and I hate to say this like this because I'm a divorced man, my wife always says, bring more money home, I can always spend it too. And, that just sits bad with me. I'd like to give them a plan, say, here, show us what we can get out of it. Is it worth us raising the taxes on these vehicles?
Well, and that's why I say that the plan is needed first. Because number one, are we going to pave gravel roads? Well, a standard for deciding what gravel roads need to be paved needs to be set. That's set by the commissioners, not by the council. And then they need to let us know that there are, the roads are rated 1 to 10. And are we going to bring up our roads that are less than 5? Are we going to bring them up at a rate of having something accomplished in 5 years or 10 years? We need to know what they want to do. And then we can take a look at how much money we can raise. And if we say that the dollars that we can generate realistically that the county residents will accept is X. So commissioners, you need to back off on your plan a little bit. Maybe instead of a 5-year plan, let's push it out to 7. Let's push it out to 10. But until we see what they actually need to do, we can't set a price to it. And, this is not really a chicken and egg type of thing as to which one comes first. We need to know what do they need, and then we need to know how many years we can take to pay for it. That's the way most planning is done.
Well, originally, it wasn't about doing more. It was about we're going to be backwards in a negative
That was the first issue.
That's the original thing.
That's the first
That's the
issue.
most important question to ask first is, are we going to be negative, and how much is it going to take to fill that hole? Because that's much more of a crisis and much more of a justified reason to pass a new tax. Is if there's going to be a negative in the highway department, we got to shore that up so we don't go backwards. But that's before you even talk about new stuff. So I don't feel like I have good clarity on that negative number because I'm getting 2 different messages.
Exactly, but that's why I'm saying, we've got from now until August to work on it. And if we decide that we don't need to do anything, we're good. We're good. But if we do need to do something, you got until August.
Okay, I want to bring this discussion to a close here. I think, Bob, you got the first step right there. Are we going to be looking at a negative piece or not? But we're going to have to get both sides working together because this can't be adversarial. And that's exactly where it's at. So we're going to have to come together. and maybe a little give and take on both, but I think you got some real good points there, Bill. I think there's some good points from the council here, but we're just gonna have to work together on this here to make it happen. But, you know, I'm sure open, and I think most of the council is open to entertaining here all different sides, and there's some really good points here. And I appreciate the input from the commissioners here, but we just can't keep doing this here. So, I know, and we'll make something happen here.
You know, one of the things that could happen that doesn't involve either us or the commissioners is we could ask Jeff Peters to update his projections for the highway department. 2023 is done. We should have different numbers, different things have happened. Maybe he can update his.
I think that'd be a good idea. That'd play right back to where
Right.
Bob's point was, you know, are we going to be plus or are we going to be negative? I think that's a great starting point.
And I think it would be, and I'm willing to do this, once we get those numbers from Jeff, or maybe it's a group discussion, but talk to Ben too at the same time and say, okay, now what really, is this right? Are these numbers correct? We're going to be going backwards, or we're going to be even out, or what? And maybe we have Ben Smaltz, Ben Parker, and Jeff together for a meeting, and I'm willing to try and pursue that between now and.
I think it's a good idea to
summer.
get Ben Smaltz involved, because see what state's looking at, maybe not this session, but down the road, because people are talking all the time about, you know, long
Well,
session already.
Yeah, but he's even saying, with what we have now, we're not going to get less money for the state highway.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. Yeah.
So,
Yep. Does anybody else have anything with the council?
I have one more thing, and that is the Indiana County Council Association's district meetings are starting at the third week of this month. And our meeting for Northeast Indiana is on the 23rd. And January, and it will be over at the Eagle Glen Golf Course meeting room, where we generally have our AIC district meetings are also usually occur over there. And I think the time is 5:30, if I'm not mistaken. And you will get one of the biggest issues is you will get a briefing on what is in the legislature this year and what has happened. That will take place on the 23rd of January. 5:30. Yes, and you can do that online.
That through our website.
And if one of you'd like to ride with me, I've already registered. I've got room for one person. I don't think anybody wants to crawl in the back of my Wrangler. It's not that comfortable to go that far, but I do have room for at least one.
Advertise that late this year?
It just hit probably a week ago, maybe.
I didn't see anything on it until just a few days ago.
Yeah, it's just recently, because they were trying to establish where it was going to be. Yeah.
Okay, anybody have anything else? I want to thank the council for your input today. Commissioners, thanks for your input. Susan, thank you. Everybody did a great job. I think it was a very productive meeting. Rick?
Now, wait a minute, one more thing.
I almost had the
I'm
words
gonna,
out.
now that I don't have control of the gavel, I get to talk.
Well, I do, so you know, you sure you want to
No,
talk?
I want to thank everybody for, I appreciate the fact that we've changed leadership here, and I think that's a good thing. It does need to change periodically. I've enjoyed being the chairman of this group. We have worked together well. We've accomplished a lot. I know that Dave is going to continue on with getting us moving forward. And we're going to make Bill Van Wy read a lot of things this next year. But I appreciate everybody's support that I've had over the last 4 or 5 years. So thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
County, I was informed. Bob here came in.
it all turned around.
It's probably because he kept bringing candy, and, everybody was on a sugar high.
Okay, Councilman Collins.
Mr. President, I'd like to move that we adjourn this meeting.
And I will second that.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you.
Is anyone